If you found yourself here, it's probably because you have a strange and wonderful mind. Let me reassure you, you are in the right place. My name is Sarah, and this is Sarah After Dark. In today's episode, we are talking aliens. This is a topic I have wanted to get on for ages. Why? Because I'm a massive, massive believer. I am. I'll hold my hands up and say, I believe in aliens. Do you? It makes me sad, actually. It makes me sad at how many people are so closed off to the idea. You just look at how big our universe actually is. Do you really, really believe that there is nothing other than us? Just because we can't see it, just because we can't communicate, maybe we can, we'll get into that shortly, does it mean that they don't exist? For as long as humans have looked up to the sky, a lot of us have wondered the same thing. Are we alone? And for decades, people across the world have claimed that the answer is no. Alien abductions, thousands of reports, may I add, bright lights in the sky, missing time, strange beings. In fact, according to the UFO reporting organisations, yes, there is such a thing, thousands of alleged encounters have been recorded over the years. And get this, many of them share eerily similar details. Lights, paralysis, and examinations. Science has its explanations. Scientists for years have been blaming sleep paralysis or false memories or neurological problems, even mental problems. That's what they put it down to. But here's where things get interesting, because not everybody believes that is the full story. There is a persistent theory, one that refuses to go away. The government, especially in the United States, knows far more about UFOs than they admit. So why would they hide it? There is quite a few widely discussed theories on that matter. Why would they hide it? Here's a couple. A lot of people believe that it would prevent mass panic. They think that the idea of confirming extraterrestrial life could destabilise society. And I kind of agree with that in a sense. I think it would cause mass panic. I think if NASA or the government or a president, for example, not mentioning any names, was to stand up tomorrow and say, right guys, just to let you know, aliens are real. We've had them for years. We've been studying them. I know a lot of us already think that. We've been studying them. We know everything about them. And you know what? They could actually harm us. Can you imagine how the standard person would react to that information? The second theory is to protect military secrecy. So many people believe that the government have been housing and holding these aliens and even UFOs in bases, in secret bases for many years. So a lot of you will recognise Area 51. A lot of people believe that that is exactly what that base has been used for, and that they are studying these UFOs. They are recreating and using the technology, or even trying to understand the technology. I personally don't believe that Area 51 is being used for aliens. I think the government would be absolutely stupid to use something that everyone has access to. I know you can't get into Area 51, but you can drive right to the border. This would be something well out of the way, well in the mountains, probably even underground. If they were really doing something with UFOs, it would be absolutely top secret. It wouldn't be easily found on Google, and many people are like, yeah, definitely Area 51. It'd be so secret. And the last theory is lack of control. So the government don't want to admit something exists that they don't understand or can't control. I think every single theory there is plausible. And there's the most unsettling theory of all. The contact has already happened and it's just been kept quiet, which brings us on to one of the most famous, most debated cases of all time. This is a case with multiple witnesses, a case with a missing person, a nationwide search, and a man who claims he was taken not by humans but by something else. On November 5th, 1975, in the National Forest in Arizona, a crew of 7 loggers had just finished a long day's work. It was getting dark, so they decided to head back to their trucks and make the drive home. But that's when they saw it. The light in the forest, suspended in the trees, hovering slightly, a glowing object, not a plane, not a helicopter, but something else. The driver, Mike Rogers, actually slowed the truck down. Everyone just stared. And then one man made the decision that would change everything. 22-year-old Travis Walton decided to open the car door and step out. And you're never ever going to guess what he did. Yeah, he decided it was a great idea to walk towards the light. I mean, that's probably something I would do. As the others watched, a beam of light shot down from the object and it struck Walton. His body lifted, or it appeared to be thrown backwards, and he hit the ground. The crew panicked. They believed he was dead, and in fear, they left him. And they drove away. But as they drove down the pathway, guilt brought them back. They all decided to return back. So a few minutes later, they spun the car around and returned back to the same spot. The light was gone, the object was gone, and Travis Walton was also gone. That same night, the police were called, and what followed was one of the largest search efforts in Arizona at the time. Dozens of searchers, helicopters, tracking dogs, thousands of acres covered, and yet not one trace of Travis Walton was found. Police didn't believe the UFO story, not at all. Instead, they suspected something far more human: murder. The crew became actual prime suspects, interrogated, pressured, but their story never changed. So the police had an idea to put these 6 men in different rooms and conduct a lie detector test. It was an attempt to make one of them crack, make one of them confess, or prove that they were telling lies. But 5 out of the 6 crew members passed with flying colours. One of them was inconclusive. To some, that was compelling, but to others, meaningless, because polygraphs are far from perfect. But everything was about to change. 5 days later, on November 10th, 1975, a phone rings, and guess who is on the other end? Well, it's only Travis Walton. He is calling from a phone booth, which is about 5 miles away from the National Forest. He's alive, disorientated, and barely able to explain what had happened to him. They immediately located him and sent a crew to go and get him. And this is where it's interesting, because when they did and they found him, he was dehydrated. Of course he was. He had lost a significant amount of weight, which is weird. He appeared confused, but this is where it's interesting. He believed that it had only been a couple of hours since he finished work. So when he walked out of the car and seen the light and began walking to the light, he believed that was only a couple of hours from when he was found. But actually, in reality, he had been gone missing for 5 days. And then when they got him back to the police station, he started to talk. According to Travis, he didn't die in the forest. He woke up somewhere else. He claimed that he remembered getting out of the car. He remembered everything that had happened prior to him going missing. He remembers walking towards the light. And all of a sudden, he said he remembers opening up his eyes to a bright, sterile room, a light shining above him. 3 small beings standing around him, at the side of him, but they weren't human. They had large eyes, small bodies, and a very strange presence. Travis claimed that he panicked and he actually fought back. He grabbed an object, something like he described a rod, and he began swinging it at them. The beings then apparently retreated. Then something even stranger happened. He claimed that a human-looking figure appeared, tall, wearing a helmet, silent, but the figure led him through the craft. Yes, the spacecraft. He said he was then placed on a table and this mask came down over his face. And that's all he remembers, because after that, he doesn't remember anything but waking up on the roadside. He said he saw the craft above him and it disappeared into the sky. There has been thousands of alien abduction stories, but this is why this one's different, and this is why I like this one the most, because there was multiple witnesses who saw the actual thing happened. There was people in that car at the time who all claimed the same story, all kept to the same story, and said that there was a light in the sky, it was bouncing through the trees, and then obviously Travis decided, Travis being Travis, to open the door and walk towards the light, and his body was flung, and they panicked and they drove away. That story has always remained the same. There was also a real disappearance, which triggered a police investigation, and it was a large-scale search. Literally, hundreds of people were scaling the national forest. They were sweeping out the area. They had helicopters. They had all sorts of things happening, and nobody could find Travis. So where did he go? Where did he go? And then suddenly, 5 days later, returned with physical symptoms. Yes, he was dehydrated, and we expect him to be dehydrated. Anyone who goes missing in an area like that is going to be lacking in water, so they're going to be dehydrated. That's natural. But significant weight loss in a 5-day period is abnormal. It's weird. I'm kind of glad that Travis came back, because if Travis didn't actually appear back or return back, this would have just become a cold case. This would never have been what it is today. It would have been a fabricated, and everyone would have just looked at it as being pure lies. Clearly someone had some involvement in his disappearance, or, as the police were insinuating at the start, in his murder. But even when Travis was speaking with the police, everything that he said backed up all of his workmates. Literally the same thing, and the witnesses stuck to their story for decades. Even today, the Travis Walton case is considered one of the most famous and controversial abduction stories that there ever was. So what does science say? So skeptics argue that the false memories can feel completely real. Cultural influence shapes what people see, and neurological states can create vivid experiences. Some researchers suggest that the abduction experience shares similarities with altered states of consciousness, where the brain fills gaps with familiar imagery, which, would make sense if this was just going off one person's account. I completely back that 1,000,000%. If this was just Travis who'd gone missing on his own, then was found and claimed that all of these things happened to him, yes, he was dehydrated, it could have been delusional, he could have been seeing things that weren't really there. But he's also got his workmates backing him up. He's also got his workmates seeing exactly what happened. Other skeptics believe that this was nothing more than a hoax involving the whole crew, all of the workmates. They actually believe that this was all set up, it was all planned, and they actually had Travis Walton, hid during the searches. And then at some point he was then planted, and this is how the story was all going to fabricate into what it was. And people naturally are going to be skeptic, because we can't explain something that we don't know. Aliens, everything, paranormal, everything that we talk about on this channel is all unexplained. So of course it comes with questions. But for me, none of that explains everything, because this case raises questions that are hard to ignore. Why would multiple people maintain the same story for decades? Why disappear for 5 full days? Why risk being accused of murder? I don't know why anyone would put themselves in this situation if it was a hoax, right? Even if it was just some fun prank. Because the thing is, they involved the police. They involved law enforcement. They know what the consequences of that was. And not only that, if this was to go wrong, or if it was to come out that it was them and this was a hoax, they would still be liable for criminal charges. I actually think that this is one of the most credible abduction cases that there ever was. There is thousands online, and I've read so many, and I want to involve more on the podcast. We're going to be starting to look at alien abductions and trying to get into the little weird world, and even a little bit of conspiracy, because there's loads. There's people who have sat endless amounts of lie detector tests about these things, and they've passed with flying colours. But this is the only case that really involves a lot of other people, a lot of witnesses, the police, investigations. There's just something about it for me that hits different. So what really happened in that forest in 1975? Was Travis Walton taken aboard something not of this world? Was it a psychological event shaped by fear and imagination? Or is the truth something even stranger, something we don't yet have the tools to understand? Because here's the thing about mysteries like this. They don't just live in the past. They stay with us. They challenge us, and they make us look up to the sky and wonder. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow and leave a comment below. It really means a lot and it really helps. Even if you can rate the podcast, it really does help this little podcast to grow. So if you enjoy mysteries that push the boundaries of what we think is possible, because sometimes the truth isn't just out there, it's waiting to be discovered. And sometimes you've just got to have a little bit of an open mind and actually be willing to just accept it. So if this is something you want to hear more on this podcast, please do let me know, because I am always open to alien discussions. I absolutely love it. And until next time, keep being a little bit weird and even a little bit spooky.